building behind me is where my investing journey began. I bought an apartment in here in a small block of 12, a few hundred meters from Coogee Beach, which is down the road, in 2015 for $720,000 as a first home buyer. Probably sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people and not a lot of money to other people. You know, you don't get a lot for 700 grand. And I was lucky enough to buy a 2-bedroom apartment close to Coogee Beach based on the advice and the mentorship that I was given by my mentor at the time. On this property, I put down a first home buyer deposit between 5 and 10%. So let's hypothetically say I put down $72,000 on this property, being a $720,000 purchase, and I didn't pay stamp duty as I was a first home buyer. That left me with a loan of just under $650,000, and I was actually getting $700 a week rent for this property when I settled. I think the interest rate was around about 4.5%. The bank rates, it was probably neutrally-ish geared by the time I got my depreciation and tax incentives, and the property was actually renovated when I bought it. The property now, almost 8 years later, is worth $1.15 million, and that's based on the latest bank valuation, which means it's grown by just over $400,000. $400,000, obviously a lot of money, and when you look at the $400,000 in comparison to what I invested, being the $72,000, so if I do the numbers here, $430,000 divided by 72 as the deposit means I've essentially got a 600% return on my initial investment, right? Because I've turned $72,000 into $430,000 over that time period, which is about 600% or 6 times my money. And this was the property which got me started in the investing journey. I bought this one in 2015, and then 18 months later, I bought my second property, which I'm about to go do a video on, in Maroubra, and I paid $875,000 for that property. And I didn't use any of my own cash to do that. As this property went from being $720,000, 2015, 2016, 2017 was a very strong market. So the property actually grew, I think, from 720 to 900 was the next bank val that I got. So naturally, I then had about $100,000 worth of available equity, which I could pull out of that property. Now, this was 8 years ago, so the numbers are maybe slightly off, but it was around about 100 grand that I could actually pull out of the property after putting my initial 10% or 72,000 down, the property growing to 900. Let me actually do the real numbers. So 900 times 80% equals 720. It was about $100,000. So I pulled that money out, and then I was able to actually use that cash as the deposit then for my next property, of which I paid $875 for. So I put down a 10% deposit again, plus whatever the stamp duty was, and I think on that was around about 35-ish thousand. Based on the equity that I released, plus some savings that I would have used for conveyancing and all the rest of it, I was able to get into my second property. So from a $72,000 initial deposit, got me into my first property. That property grew from $720 as a purchase price to $900. I then obviously released about $100,000 worth of equity, which was all of my $72,000 that I put into the deal, plus then a little bit of growth. And then from there, I used that to buy the second investment. And that's how easy it is to be able to continue to grow by using a small amount of cash to get started, and then continuing to leverage that as your income is increasing, your rental income is sustaining the debt, and then you build out the portfolio.